All right, welcome back, everybody. And so we have a kind of a different show. I have two guests on. I got Robert and Tony Locke. Normally I have one guest on. So we're gonna have these guys fight. We're gonna arm wrestle for time. Robert, Tony, thank you so much for being here, guys. Appreciate y'all.
Thanks, Pete.
Thanks, Pete. Appreciate it.
All right, so Tony, you and I just literally met at NARPM Broker Owner early this year. Robert, you and I go back a couple of years, a few years back, and you're one of the OGs, right? So let's talk a little bit about your journey and then how you decided to create Rent Recovery, and then we could talk a little bit about Monica Gilroy, who's also a part of this, and she's a huge NARPM advocate. But love to hear a little bit of your backstory, Robert.
All right. Well, Betty and I started buying houses in the late 70s. In 1980, we decided to start managing not just our own professionally, but taking on properties from other owners. Fast forward to the 90s, when tenants moved out of our houses, we'd turn them over to debt collection companies like everybody seems to do. And, we didn't get a very good result. And so in 2000, with Monica's help, we started post move out collections. We just started down that learning curve. We were at about 300 doors, and we had tenants moving out on our properties, leaving behind balances of $2,000, $5,000, $8,000. And we got tired of waiting around for consumer debt collection companies. So we kind of decided to figure it out ourselves. And Monica's a creditor's rights lawyer, so she was able to give us a lot of guidance. It took us 4, 5, 6 years to kind of learn the business. And we collected 40, 50, $60,000 a year on our tenants. We never collected for other managers. We were just going through our learning curve, trying to figure out how to do that business. And then that bumped up to 90, 100,000, 110,000 bucks a year. And then it jumped up to 120 to $150,000 a year. And so we figured it out. And we just didn't have to use the debt collection companies anymore. And in 2015, when we sold out to Coldwell Banker, they made me sign an agreement to stop doing it. They were afraid of property management. They were terrified of debt collection because anytime you step into the post move out chasing tenants for the money, you're in a debt collection space. And Coldwell Banker was terrified of that. So after that period of time ran its course, Monica came to me one day and said, Robert, I have managers constantly who come up and say, when are you and Robert going to start doing post move out collections for other managers? And that's when we resurrected Rent Recovery about late 23, early 24.
So
And so we kind of
relatively new, yeah,
we
relatively new story.
resurrected a business that we were already had 20 years of experience in.
All right, I got before we get into Rent Recovery, you imagine properties in the early 80s. All right, what did that look like? Was there even a third party management industry back then? Like NARPM didn't start till the 90s, from my understanding. Like, what did that look like compared to what it is today? Is it just
Well,
crazy or what?
Tony and I were laughing about this the other day because I remember sitting around my office, around the conference table, and just this will make you laugh. We printed 800 owner statements. We printed 800 owner checks, and we sit around a conference table, about eight of us, trying to make sure we got the right check with the right owner statement. Then we printed 800 mail labels and put them on envelopes and hopefully got the right owner statement and check in the right envelope. Didn't always have that happen. Put it in boxes and carry it to the post office. This was before Promise, which was kind of the first property management software out there. And so we were mailing 800 owner statements, hard copy mail, to 800 owners before the software industry kind of came into this space. Crazy, crazy.
Oh,
Showed
man.
every house,
All right. That's
no
a whole
remote
other. All
showing.
right. I'm going to do a podcast where we're going to go back in time and we're going to pretend to be property managers back in 1980 one of these days.
Oh my gosh.
So
That
Tony,
would be fun.
tell me how did you get involved in credit recovery, rent recovery? Sorry, credit
Sure.
recovery.
So, elevator pitch, man. I was Army chaplain 10 years, and then I pastored 20 years, and then my I was always involved in my dad's business because I'm in tech. I started a nonprofit and ran a whole bunch of other people's ideas
So you
into
used
the
to asking for money,
marketplace.
being a nonprofit. You used to asking for money, right?
Well, so I would take other people's ideas, brand it, create, put them in charge of it, and then run it as a nonprofit idea for their company for PR value and for volunteer for their staff. And we would do special things in communities, believing that four people sitting at Waffle House have better ideas for changing their community than four people in Washington. That was our slogan.
I agree with
And
that. I love it.
so I was really involved in tech. And so when I was looking for an exit in my early 50s, I was like, Dad, what ideas do you have? And he was just coming out from underneath um, that
NDA.
that yeah, the NDA, right? So it was good timing, and we've made a lot of progress in the last 2.5, 3 years.
All right, so let's talk about this rent recovery deal because when I owned Empire, it was a huge pain in the butt, right? We get residents, you get evicted, they get evicted, or they break a lease, right? And then you charge them, and then they kind of stay on your books, right? And they're just always there. And finally, like, ah, crud, I'll just write it off. And eventually, you find some kind of credit debt collections company. They want to take 40, 50%, and they don't collect anything. I mean, I think I've gotten like three checks for like $100 or something like that in like the 5 years that or the 7, 8 years that I owned Empire. So tell me, Robert, how does it actually work? So I'm a property manager and I have a resident that gets evicted and they owe me, let's just say 5 grand. What's the next steps? Do I have to wait so many days? Like, you have to wait so many days before you can actually send them to quote unquote collections. Like, tell me, kind of give me the timeline and step by step on what that looks like.
Yeah, well, first of all, property managers have this instinctive idea that after the tenant moves out, it's kind of a reasonable idea that you ought to be able to chase them for a while under the rights of your lease. In other words, you got a lease, they owe you money,
Yeah.
and 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 so we all feel
They
like,
moved out on the fourth. I want my money on the fifth. Or they got evicted on the fourth. I want my money on the fifth, right? Like
yes,
that's
yeah, of course. And debt collection is a completely different space in the economy, different software, different trade associations, different contracts, different processes. So it's kind of a dark space because there's so many regulations, Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, Fair Credit Reporting Act, Telephone Compliance Act. I mean, it's not something that property managers really have any training in. They don't really know the space. And the thing that they have to kind of be aware of is the day after move out. Listen, the day after move out, the right to pursue money in their lease dissolves. And they step into this very dark
so.
space
So what you're
called debt
saying,
collection.
what you're saying then is a lot of private managers unknowingly are in are doing debt collection without realizing it, and they have a whole new set of rules that they have to abide by.
Absolutely.
In
I've seen policies
I
where
did not.
managers,
I am today's years old when I learned that.
well, I learned it the hard way because at Crown, we started pursuing tenants in 1980. It's kind of we're going to figure this out.
Hmm.
Okay. And with Monica on my arm, who's 30 years litigating in this space. So you can't do better than Monica Gilroy in this space,
Hmm.
right? Her clients are banks, mortgage companies, anybody that's owed money. So this
NARPM,
is her.
NARPM's a client of ours now. Yeah.
Yeah. So she's kind of moved into property management because when we met, we started doing 3 hour CE classes in Atlanta and training the property management industry because I've done it 20 years and she was a litigation lawyer. So it was a good combination. Then I got her co-teaching with me on the national stage at NARPM. NARPM fell in love with her. So now she's general counsel for NARPM.
Mhm.
So I kind of brought her into this industry. And her first experience was with Crown. And we got our company up to about 1,000 doors, sold it off to Coldwell Banker from Mark Creditor. They bought out Mark Creditor. Then he introduced them to me. And then they bought out Crown. Now they did it differently. They bought the company. They wanted the platform. They wanted the intellectual property.
Oh, they didn't just buy the contracts. They actually
No,
bought the
no.
assets.
They wanted to know how to do property management. And
Mm.
when they bought out Mark, he was, if you knew Mark's operation, he was really good at low end rental.
He was, yeah, he was the
He was
low.
a master at it. And
Yeah.
so after Coldwell Banker bought him out, they kind of realized that wasn't the model they were looking for. And so they came to Crown. Our average rent back then was 1350. We would have 5 to 6 evictions a year on 1,000 doors.
What was creditor doing? 5 to 6 a week?
Oh, 21 to 22%, according to him.
Yeah, I believe
Evictions
it.
are skips in
Uh,
Mark's model were
all right, so
21
now
to
t so
22%.
Tony, take me through the timeline. Okay, so let's just say I have an eviction goes on, and on June 5th, they finally the writ is appears. They owe me 3 months rent, and they owe me, 5 grand. On June 6th, I'm now in this debt collector type of situation. So is it the so give me kind of like best practices if I'm a property manager and I'm using rent recovery. Like let's just kind of go that route. So then kind of like say, okay, if you're not using rent recovery, this is what happens versus if you're using rent recovery, this is what happens.
Right. So the first thing you want to do is make sure that you are tracking this tenant so that you can turn them over to me. You want to make sure that your move out inspection is done well. You want to make sure that your tenant ledger is updated and correct. You want to manage that security deposit transmittal form correctly. All these issues become important paperwork that we're going to need in the process of collections. Okay. So
Is it
you
similar
can
to all
get
the paperwork I need for an eviction? Is it kind of very similar?
it is, but you need to make sure that it's all current because when you give it when you give this tenant to us, we're gonna start a process, and the process isn't immediately reported to the credit bureaus. Our process is mandated by federal law, and so the law is going to require that first of all we rightly identify them. The bureaus, TransUnion, Equifax, they're not going to let us give them a tenant name and a debt without making sure that their social security number and their birth date and everything's correct. And then we have to start sending letters. We don't report them to the bureaus. We start sending letters,
Do you have
notification
to
letters.
Okay, so pause there. Do I have to wait 30 days before I send it to you? Like I keep hearing like, oh, you got to wait at least 30 days before they can like make the payment. Is that part of the 30 days? Like, or is that just me? I have this mindset that it doesn't really matter. You can send them over to collections at any time.
Yeah, so you don't want to automate this process. You want to do this process intentionally, one tenant at a time. You want to have a policy that you keep, and you want to do it thoughtfully. Robert's got a better answer for this because we've recently been talking about this with Monica in the last week. We spent 3 hours in her office sort of dealing with this question on, you know, is it kind of like selling, is it kind of like repossessing a car? You know, you're making payments on a car, and then the day you lose the car, can the loan company keep coming after you for money, or does it go into collections? So I'm going to let Robert kind of flesh that out.
Yeah, well, it's reasonable. Every property manager wants to spend the first 30 or 60 days trying to get the tenant to pay him money without engaging a debt collector who's going to take half of it. So
Mhm.
it's reasonable that you let a property manager go 30 days, 60 days, try to get the tenant to pay something, try to settle it before you turn it over to a debt collector. Okay,
Uh,
so everybody's got this. How long can I chase it before I turn it over to a rent recovery? And the problem is nobody can really tell you there's no rule. So if you chase somebody for 60 days, violating Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, and that tenant goes to a lawyer, and the lawyer comes back after you and saying, you're a debt collector and you violated Fair Debt Collection Practices Act and we're suing you. Well, in a sense, they're right because the day the tenant moves out, you move into a debt collection space. Monica, defending the property manager, would say, but the manager has a reasonable period of time
Right.
that they should be able to pursue the tenant before they turn it over to a debt collector. So
And
nobody can really
I
tell
got,
you, is it
yeah.
30 days, 60 days, 90 days?
So
Nobody can give you a rule.
my understanding was like I have to hold it a period of time before I send it to a debt collector.
No,
You're saying no,
no.
you can send it to a debt collector the next day. However, good practice is go try to get the money in 30 days. Now, let me
Well,
ask you this. The
most of the time, the law says you can't send them the security deposit report for 30 days.
right.
So in most states, you move somebody out and you got 30 days to notify them if they owe money or send them a check. So there's that 30 days that certainly the property managers has a right under their lease to try to get them to pay some money. After that 30 days, it starts getting murky.
Right. Now, the challenge is we all know this. Property managers are terrible at collecting money. I mean, there's probably a couple of percentage of property managers that are really good at it. I can tell you that my property managers at Empire were terrible at it, right? Just a different type of personality profile. So, would you like, okay, so I would probably get better results. And we know that once after 30 days goes, the chances of collecting go down. Is that correct in your data?
Sure. And we can go back 3 years. So think of it this way. The low-hanging fruit are the tenants that have moved out in the last 12 months. That's the low-hanging fruit. They kind of remember who you were. They kind of remember they left owing something, but we've been very successful at going back 3 years. So it's pretty common and the manager can just send us the database, click, click, send us a CSV file, and that's all we need for 24, 23, and 22. But the success rate of collecting in 2022 tenants that moved out
Good.
compared to success of collecting in 2024 tenants that have moved out changes. So the
And versus
older
the ones
it
in
gets,
2025, right? The ones that are just 30 days old, that you're gonna have probably the highest on that.
yeah, and here's a statistic at Crown when we did that. And if it was within the last 6 months, we were successful in the 72 to 75% range because we figured it out.
That's great. All right, so now let's say I'm using Tony. I'm gonna go back to you. I use rent recovery. June, whatever, 15th, whatever, they're out. I sent them their report already. Maybe it's 2 weeks, maybe it's 30 days, or I want to send them to you right away, or should I send the security deposit report first and then send them to you? What is the way that you guys like it best?
We like it for you to wrap up the numbers before you send it to us because we have to have a final number, a total that we're going to give to the credit bureaus. We have to send some letters. We have to wait. We have to send a letter, wait 30 days. They have 30 days to dispute it, right? These are the laws that we are governed by. So
Okay.
it's not fast, but we have a file that we upload to Equifax TransUnion, and we get your portfolio. We put it into this template, and then once a month we send it to the bureaus. And so you have to have that number solidified, and it can't be changing,
Got it.
because
You got to do
you'll
you
get in
gotta
trouble,
do
we'll get in trouble.
Yeah, you have to do your move out process, your eviction process, tie it up in a bow, great. And instead of making phone calls to try to collect, I just send it over to you, and your team sends the letters, does the
Right.
phone calls and does all that stuff.
If you're making phone calls to collect, you're rolling the dice in Vegas, hoping not to crap out and have a tenant with a lawyer who knows the law who says, you're acting like a debt collector and you're a property manager and you haven't followed all little things that you're supposed to do. Every time you try to collect, you're taking a chance. And so if you have a lot of people you're trying to collect on as a property manager, and you're doing it 60 days, 90 days, you're increasing your risk. If you want to know the limits of the risk you should be taking, ask your E&O company who has insurance over your property management company to say, how long should I give myself freedom to go after this debt on my own before I turn it over to a collections agent? They're going to give you a shorter window than you're probably comfortable with on your own. You want to send that to us. You want to start with a CSV file and export out of your software. You're onboarding with rent recovery. We get 22, 23, 19, 2024. First part of 2025, we put those into a portfolio with your name and we start the process. It's really easy.
Got it. And then after that, as they come up, I just send them to you. I don't have to
one at a time, one at a time. Yeah, we do a monthly phone call to talk to you about where your portfolio is, who's making payments, who's signing notes, where your all your files are, and then we gather the new ones like once a month.
Pete, let me tell you what Tony did though, because Tony comes at this from a technology standpoint. In our system, think Appfolio, Rentvine, think of that kind of model. Tony's got it set up to where you as the manager have a portal just like an owner has a portal into Rentvine.
Mm-hmm.
And the tenant has a portal into the software. So we use Rentvine to manage the money that the tenant pays. So you might have 10 tenants making payments. So this month, you as the manager get an owner statement with a check, just exactly the way you would with Rentvine or Appfolio. So we use Rentvine to collect the money from the tenant and pass it over to the owner. But that's not the real crux is what Tony built. You go into our website, you come up with a manager dashboard. And over on the right, every tenant in your system is identified right there. You can double click on any one of them and open up a tenant dashboard and see an archive of every communication we've had with the tenant to date.
And then do you have like a dashboard that tells you how much money you've put out to rent recovery, how much was actually collected, and I can see that percentage and I can see all that good stuff
We're
too.
not, Pete, we're not that far yet because
Okay.
But we do a report.
Yeah, we're only a year and a half into this.
I know, it's
So,
amazing.
so I can give you metrics of what we did at Crown, but remember the big shift is that we're now doing it for other property managers. And you and I used to think managers kind of all do it the same way. No, they don't. And so our learning curve is how to deal with a tenant with Section 8 houses and the tenant with student housing, or the manager with student housing, and a manager with single family and some multifamily, and a manager with single family and mobile homes. It is unbelievable what it has taken for us in the last year and a half to figure out how to deal with all these crazy property managers that all do it differently.
So you guys basically created a process, figured it out, and have really good results. And so now it's like if I'm a property manager, I don't have to worry about it. I just hand it over to you guys, and you guys take care of it. What's that split? Because normally it's like a split. Do you guys work off a split? Is it a monthly fee? What's the the charges look like?
Yeah, it's 50-50. It's the same as a traditional debt collection company, but here's the big difference. Property managers have not embraced this idea of post-move out collection for decades
Oh, agreed.
because there's no money in it. Think about this, Pete. When you go out and collect $5,000 from a tenant, most of it is unpaid rent and property damage above the security deposit. Now, whose money is that? It's the owner's money. You're an agent for the owner. So if you collect 5,000 bucks, 4,500 belongs to the owner, you get chump change.
All right, I got to ask
What
you.
we figured out, what we figured out 8 years into our model is how to get the owner to release that account so that you can go out and collect $5,000 and keep it all.
Uh, so I was going to ask you that because I think in our PMA, we had a clause and proved by an attorney, Texas attorney, that any money that was outstanding over so many days, we would get a percentage of it, regardless of what it was earmarked for. So I'm guessing that's kind of something that you guys now. Do you have to make an addendum or an amendment to the PMA?
We have a whole list of enhancements that
There
Monica
you
and
go.
I have developed over the last 20 years.
Hmm.
Language you can put in your management agreement, language you can put in your rental agreement to kind of lock this all down
That
in
alone is worth the
advance.
price of admission.
I mean, that's really where the secret sauce is.
Hmm.
To use
Do you guys have to
Todd Bream's language.
build different language for different states, or do you guys have universal language?
No, that for this particular issue, post move out collections, it's not, the states really don't address it in their landlord
It's
tenant
more
law.
federal.
Yeah, yeah,
Got it.
yeah.
Okay.
And
And Pete,
remember, federal law trumps state law.
yeah.
So
Mhm.
if this is debt collection law, doesn't matter what the state law says.
It doesn't
I
matter
was
if
just gonna
you
add,
get sued by the state and by the Fed.
nice. No, I was just gonna add that we're talking about Monica Gilroy putting together little snippets and paragraphs and addendums so that you can do this in a way that you make a lot of money, so that you as a property management company are not getting collections for someone else, you're getting it for yourself. This is part of the intellectual property that we bring to the table. It's Monica Gilroy's brilliance and Robert's experience and knowledge of this industry to put it in a to put the property manager in a position so when they're bringing in, let's say, again, the first company that did this had 300 doors when it was bringing in over 100,000 a year. So 300 doors, 100,000 a year, that was the number that was sustainable with what we're talking about.
I'm gonna ask, I'm gonna throw a curveball here. Um, at Empire, believe it or not, I had a lot of owners that we used to allow to go negative. I know
Mhm.
not the best practice, but you got to get stuff paid, you got to get stuff done, and we all fall into the trap. And then the owner, property's vacant 3 months, you're paying electric bills, they fire you, they never make a contribution. Can I use rent recovery for owner recovery?
Absolutely. Here's the difference. Here's the difference. Tenants cannot afford to hire a lawyer to fight you. Owners can. So it's three times harder to succeed with owners than it is to succeed with tenants. In
Interesting.
other words, I can get tenants to settle and make payments much easier than I can an owner. So if I put my thumb on the credit score of an owner, remember, he's a wealthy real estate baron, isn't he? He owns more houses than he can afford to live in. Yes, right?
You and I
He
will
knows he
disagree.
knows a lawyer. He knows a lawyer. Tenants are the vulnerable ones. They're the ones that are much easier to deal with. You
Man, I got to
pursue
tell
an
you, Rob,
owner.
that floors me because my experience was different. I was able to get more money from the owners than I could for the residents because the owners cared about their credit
Mm,
reporting. And
100%.
everybody today has an attorney on, everybody's got an attorney on in their five. My
Hey,
favorite.
you got Monica Gilroy if you got rent recovery.
That right there is again price of
I,
admission, price of
that's the
admission.
golden ticket, man. I mean, come on, Monica Gilroy as your attorney.
Monica, you better be
Yeah,
listening to this. Big kudos.
I'm
And,
telling you.
We're gonna
and
put Monica on
here's what
a
happened. Here's what happened, Pete. When we did this on our own for 15 years, okay? Tony, Robert, my assistant Denise, okay? And when we restarted it, when we resurrected it, Monica said, I want to be part of this. I want to be an owner. I want to be one of the founders. I want in on this. So it's
Marco.
kind of cool to have a
Mm,
35-year veteran in the business that knows exactly what you do and a 30-year veteran trial lawyer who is general counsel for NARPM.
Man, Monica must have been the trial lawyer when she was like 10 years old because she don't look a day over 40 if she's doing it for 30 years.
You're a smart man, Pete.
All right, guys. So I appreciate your time. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We're going to come back with a lightning round, and this will be interesting. We're going to do a lightning round with multiple people. All right, guys. We'll be right back after this. All right, welcome back, everybody. We got the Locks, Robert and Tony Locke. They're going to get into the lightning round. We're going to do an abbreviated one because we're going to have both you guys answer this stuff. Okay. All right, Tony, you first. What is one piece of advice you'd give someone just starting out in business?
In business, just
Mhm.
general business, I would
Just
tell them to
generally, I want to create my own business.
get a good consultant. There are people with industry knowledge that you don't know that you don't know.
Hmm.
Make sure that you're surrounding yourself with the people with that industry knowledge who can connect you with all the stuff that's going to make your business scale faster.
Brilliant. I love it. Actually, when I started Empire, I actually hired a business coach because I didn't even know
Mm,
about the industry. So
yeah.
very similar, but I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't speak business yet, and he translated for me, which was nice. Robert,
Mm.
what about you? What's one piece of advice you give someone just starting out in business?
Well, I have the advantage of having a couple of minutes to think about it. So here's my piece of advice. It's astounding to me, Peter, how many people are not members of NARPM and they're trying to learn property management by the suspenders. I mean, they're just doing it out of their hip pocket. And that what I learned from NARPM, what I learned by listening to audio tapes 35 years ago of Dave
Carlton
Holt.
Sheets.
Dave Holtz, How to Make Money in Property Management, I realized, man, these NARPM people, they got some knowledge. I better join this group.
All right, Robert, does pineapple belong on pizza?
Let's say that again.
Does pineapple belong on pizza?
Absolutely. Are you kidding me? Hawaiian pizza? Fabulous. Yes.
Tony?
Only if you've got bacon and barbecue sauce and not pizza sauce.
All right, all right. All right. Tony, what's your favorite fast food restaurant?
Favorite fast food, man, gotta be Zaxby's.
Zaxby's, never
Tongue
been.
torch. Yeah, you get the chicken strips in tongue torch. Best sauce that they have.
Hot? It sounds
It's
spicy.
medium hot. It sounds crazy, but it's perfect.
Robert, you a Zaxby guy? What's your favorite?
Oh, absolutely. Mellow mushroom. Can't
Mm.
beat it.
Mellow mushroom with your
Yeah.
pineapple pizza.
Pineapple
You
pizza.
and I are definitely not pizza buddies. I'm going to tell you that right now. Robert, what was your first job?
My first job was bagging groceries at a Kroger store.
Kroger was around back then?
Yeah,
Just
way
teasing you.
back.
I'm just teasing you.
Let's say that was about 1955, I guess.
Wow. I thought you could tell me you would milk cows on some farm. Tony, what about you? What's your first job?
Pizza Hut, 16 years old, making pizzas, and I still make them fresh today. Everything's scratch. It's awesome.
Really? Oh, see, now you
Yeah,
and I, we could be pizza buddies, I think.
there you go.
Okay. All right. Tony, what's your ideal vacation?
My ideal vacation is a place where I can do stuff. So it can be in the mountains, but I have to be skiing. It can be on an ocean front, but I need to be able to be fishing or doing something. I don't like to sit and stare.
And then making me a pizza at night. All right.
Yeah, that sounds good
What
too.
about you? Ideal vacation.
Betty and I have had several in Tuscany. We love northern Italy. We'd go to Como and Garda and sit out on a veranda drinking some good wine, snacking on some cheese, walking around during the
Oh,
day.
that's good.
You win. I'll take
Yeah.
that one too.
No,
That's
that's a good answer. Yeah, Pete, I've been in 35 countries and I'm just tired of seeing old buildings and architecture. I got to be doing something.
All right. All right. Last one. Tony, what book are you currently reading, or what is one that's impacted your business or life?
Um, Atomic Habits, recent book that I read. Actually, the most recent that's sitting on my nightstand is Fingerprints of the Gods, and it's kind of about ancient Egypt and pre-Diluvian civilization. The Just there's some way that they were moving, 50,000 ton rocks that don't make sense to us today,
Yeah.
right? It's just, I mean, all of that stuff just interests me very much so.
All right, Robert, I'm gonna change the question on you here because
Oh, you're cheating
curveball.
on me
I
now. I
sure
had to
am
look
because you have
He's a
ready.
time to
big
think about
reader.
it. All right. What is one challenge you're currently facing in your business?
Time allocation. I want to, part of me wants to retire from the standpoint of more road trips with Betty, seeing people around the country, and not put my feet in the sand. I'm very active. But the challenge is rent recovery is exploding.
Mhm.
We're having people join us left and right. I think we have 42 right now, people that came off broker owner and wanted to know more about rent recovery. We're signing them up as fast as we can get them. Um, it has taken a year and a half to kind of get our roots, figure out how to deal with different property manager systems. And we're well beyond that startup phase. It's escalating very rapidly.
Pete, I'm going to tell you
I
a
love it.
secret.
I love it. I love that part of the business because I've done it for 20 years and nobody's in this space that knows debt collection and property management.
All right,
Pete,
Tony.
I'm going to tell you a secret, man. My dad's turning 80 in like 3 months.
Holy cow.
80, 80.
My mom's 80 and she's nothing like you, Robert.
He's doing 3 mile walks every other day. He is up. He is a hard worker. He is running rings around me. It's crazy.
All right, Tony, if somebody wanted to learn more about rent recovery, how do they get in touch with you guys?
Yeah, the simplest way is to go to rentrecovery.com. Go to rentrecovery.com/guest. Just fill out a contact form, uh, contact page. Yeah, let us know that you're interested. We'll send you rentrecovery.com/NDA, and we'll send you that link and you can sign it and we'll start sharing our intellectual property and how we help you make money.
Awesome. And if you are not a NARPM member and you're listening to this, why are you not a NARPM member? Go to narpm.org or call them at 800-782-3452. And if you are looking for remote team members, maybe they need to make some tough phone calls for you guys, go to vpmsolutions.com or email me, Pete at vpmsolutions.com. Robert, Tony, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate it. And good luck on this business that is blowing up and booming.
Appreciate it, Peter. Thank you.
Thanks, Pete, for your very generous time. Thank you.